This video today is about just recognizing ADHD. ADHD, what does it look like? How do we recognize it? There's a couple of different types of ADHD. There's inattentive type and there's also hyperactive type. Oftentimes they'll occur together. They don't necessarily have to. And a lot of people who don't have ADHD may exhibit some of the traits of ADHD without actually having it. How do we recognize it? Here's a few tips and tricks, but ultimately at the end of the day, it has to be ultimately diagnosed by a professional. Let's start with inattentive type. A lot of times people can just make some careless mistakes. It looks like they're flighty. It looks like they're spacey, or well, that may be what it looks like to us inside their heads. I can tell this from my own personal experience. It might look like I'm not here. It's because I'm trying to solve something that has completely distracted me. And so yes, I am literally being inattentive to what is going on right next to me, but I am very much attending to what is going on here. That just needs to be taken care of and played out so that I can then pay attention to what's in front of me. Another thing that tends to happen a lot in inattentive type ADHD is just a lack of attention to detail, or the exact opposite. It seems like there is hyperfocus, and those two things can exist in the same person. If you are very interested in something, there's going to be hyperfocus, and you are just going to ride that train as long as possible. If it is something you are not interested in, but it is something that you have to do anyway, well, you're probably just going to blow through it. Another thing that happens with inattentive type ADHD is changing tasks. Kid at play, just changing play very constantly. People with ADHD are often characterized as being poor listeners. It's not that we don't want to be good listeners, it's just that there is something that was not able to be prioritized in time to be able to listen to what people are saying to us. Another characteristic is this not following through on instructions or tasks. What will happen a lot of times with ADHD, somebody has the momentum to start a task. Well, a lot of times you don't have the momentum to finish the task. So it really takes both. With inattentive type ADHD, it's very common to lack the motivation to even start, let alone finish. People with inattentive type ADHD are notorious for being late or thinking that we've got way more time than we do for things. Time deafness and also time distortion are very common with ADHD and really common in inattentive type. Also, when you've got inattentive type ADHD, you might want to avoid doing the hard tasks. So if you've got a bunch of stuff that you need to do, you start cherry picking off the little easy things first, knowing that you're at least getting something done, but then you just ultimately know you're procrastinating and you're putting off the big thing that needs to be done until such a time as either you have energy, motivation, or somebody to help this task started and completed. Another type of ADHD is the hyperactive type. I mean, there are some very easy things to see. They literally won't sit still in their chair. They are climbing everything, the fidgeting, the leg bouncing, any sort of movements. Why do we have hyperactivity type ADHD and how do we recognize it? Well, people who have hyperactive type ADHD just literally need to move our bodies more in order to feel regulated. In order for us to feel like calm, we got to do all this extra movement stuff. For me, in order to feel calm, I just really need to run a lot. I've found out that that's something that works for me. If there's something that works for you, let me know, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. One of the other hallmarks of hyperactive type ADHD is having a hard time staying engaged and interested in like sedentary type activities. So if you go to a movie with your friend with ADHD and they are not interested in the movie at all, and you ask them at the end of the movie, how is the movie? Don't be surprised if you hear something like, there are 25 rows of seats, there were 150 seats in the entire theater, there's 12 lights in the ceiling, you'll get the rundown of what the layout of the theater is instead of what the plot of the movie was. Another sign that, well, yeah, that might be hyperactive ADHD. Another thing that happens with those of us that have hyperactive type ADHD, we have a really hard time waiting our turn, whether that is talking, especially if it is participating in like a physical type event. But a lot of times it's just because if it's in conversation, we know that the short-term memory has a fully formed thought, but we also know that that thing is going to go away pretty quick. And if we wait until it's our turn, experience has shown us that more often than not, we're going to forget what it is that we're saying. This is about recognizing ADHD. I'd love to hear your comments. Put it in there. Things that you've noticed about either yourself or other people that have ADHD. While you're there, you may as well like and subscribe. I hope you find this helpful.